So a warm welcome. Thank you so much. And sorry for the delay. We had some technical hitches. And we are live on our Facebook page. You can join us if you still have time. I've put the link details there. So our topic today is about the education system in Germany. It's a challenge for many people. They don't understand the system. And another thing we would like to focus on is for professionals who would like to join this area. Where do I start? How much German knowledge do I need to have? And what's the structure of the education system here? We had hosted Wambui a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, and her story really inspired many people. We decided to do a refresher and bring another trained teacher, Susan Stiller, who trained in Kenya and came here, added some knowledge, and now she's a trained teacher here. So we have two, one who trained here from fresh and the other who trained in Kenya and came here. And I'm very, very excited to have you on the AG Career Hub. And very also happy to have partners who have been supporting what we do, namely GANF. It's an organization based in Munich, co-founded by a lawyer, Kenyan lawyer. It's called Giving Africa a New Face. They've done fantastic projects. I'll put a link in the comment section that you can check what they do. And African Nurses in Germany, African Nurses Pflege in Germany. It's a network of African nurses in Germany. So if you're in this chat, in this meeting, and you would be interested to network with other nurses, I'll also tag the name of the group on the video description. So karibuni sana. Acha tujue who is Wambui and who is Susan Stiller. So feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourselves, and then we go to the next discussion.
Wambui, you start, or should I start?
Yeah, you
Wambui,
can start.
No, Wambui should start.
Okay.
She already did something like this. I've never done it.
It's okay. Wambui, you would like to go ahead?
Okay, that's okay, Asante. So my name is Wambui. Yeah, last time I was here, I had just joined my master's, was pursuing my master's degree, and yeah, and now I finally made it, passed, and I'm now doing the so-called Referendariat, which is teacher training, basically. I'm currently doing that in a school of the hearing impaired. So there's also sign language that has got to go with that because I studied special education. Yeah, it has been an interesting journey with its highs and its lows, definitely. But I'm very grateful that I've come this far. And yeah, and I'm also really impressed at the reaction of people. I saw the conversation of people who want to become teachers and that we're becoming more and more. We are definitely still very few. I remember when we were being sworn in, I was the only Black person among all those people who were being sworn in on that day. So we are still very few, but we are increasing slowly by little, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation and also to learn more. So thank you for having me again, Carol.
Thank you, Wambui. Susan, let us also know who is Susan. Where do you teach? What's your background?
So yeah, my name's Susan. Yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm a trained teacher here in Germany, but I also trained in Kenya. I did my bachelor in Kenya and I did my master's here in Germany. And in Germany, after doing your master's of education, you have to do another teacher training. That means you are being assessed. You have to be assessed for almost 18 months. That time was 18 months. And I did that, I finished, and now I'm a teacher here in the near from Dortmund. Yeah, I teach classes 5 to 10. Yeah, and my subjects are math and chemistry. These subjects I started in Kenya, and I continued here, and I finished. Now I'm a full I'm a full teacher, I can say. It was a long journey, but yeah. But
Wow.
at the end, I finished the journey, and but the journey is still continuing. I can say like that. Yeah.
It's actually so impressive because you rarely see African teachers in Germany. So I think we need to give you a big applause for allowing yourselves to change, bringing change in such an environment where we are not very many, or in an environment where we are trying to bring in change, positive change, let me put it this way. And that is the core agenda of the AG Career Hub, bringing in different professionals who can help a brother, a sister somewhere out there, and also building these networks for the generations to come, that when our children grow up, they grow up seeing African teachers, African professionals in different areas. And it's not because we are Africans, but we just want to build that network for ourselves, for our own, let me say, idol. I don't know the idol, the English word here, but just for the welfare of the African community. And that is why we're doing this. So thank you so much. Maybe Wambui, you can take us back, like what triggered you to start teaching, and how was your journey? Because you started right as a fresh studying in Germany. And then now we can go to Susan, who studied in Kenya and then came here.
It is an unusual choice, especially when you come from Africa, not just as a Black person living in Germany, but when you actually come from Africa. It is an unusual choice. I think what helped me back then was the lack of knowledge. I did not know that it is unusual. For me, I wanted to study education because I like education. And even when I was home, I really loved education. And I just wanted to continue because, because I thought this is something I know how to do. This is something I love doing. So when I wanted to join, I did not know how unusual that would be. As I said also last time I was here, I came to Germany as an au pair, and I went to a family, and the mother there was a teacher. And I loved the way she was with her students. Generally, I've had many teachers who really changed my life. And I saw that again in her, how she could really impact these students. She was teaching in a Hauptschule, and sometimes she would invite her students to come over to her home and they would eat cake. And you could just see she had such a positive impact on them. And even years later, those students, even after they finished school, they still came back and visited her. And I always thought, this is so good when you can have such a great impact on one human being. And I also always say, I still remember some of my teachers, even when I was in first grade, not because of how they taught me English or math, but just who they were as people. And the messages they impacted in me and made me believe in myself. And this is the kind of a person I wanted to be. I wanted to be a person who can impact something. So it was sort of naive, but still following something I really wanted. And it was only later that I realized how unusual it was, sometimes even unwanted. It was very hard for me to actually even join the teaching training. Since May last year, I had been told that I can't do teachers training because I am not German. And for the longest time, I fought to join this system. I was running up and down, and I got my visa the very last minute. You know, I had been told you cannot be a teacher because there's something called Verbeamtung, and many authorities were telling me it's not possible. So so my desire to do teaching was just for the sake of teaching, because I loved teaching. And it's later that I started looking at education as a whole, and how it can impact you in a positive and in a negative way. And I did a lot of research also in education, in the areas of racism in education. Many people have seen me doing that, internalized racism, and yeah, the colonial education that we have grown up with and how that still impacts us today, you know, with such things as who discovered Mount Kenya and Lake Victoria still being called Lake Victoria. And still, we never question such messages. We never question such things. So yeah, so those are the things that have kept me in the education field. And later at the university, I actually also started teaching at the university once in a while, also about education and what it does to kids and how we can best empower our kids, because I have come to believe that education is empowerment and it can either build or break you. Yeah.
Wow. What an introduction, what an impact. Yes, I've seen you doing a lot of things, hosting even the renowned Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o to come and teach us, show us our history and what we can rectify and see the impact we can bring into our children. So Susan, you are into mathematics, sciences, an area that most people shy away from. They're like, mathematics is not my thing. And now you're here teaching in Germany such subjects. What motivated you to go into this far, and maybe take us back from Kenya right all the way to Germany? And then we can go to the structure of the education system in Germany.
You know, I started my education in Kenya. I did my bachelor in Kenya, and because I was not so good, but I was good in math and chemistry, I opted to pursue then education in Bachelor of Education in Kenya. And which subjects were being, which teachers were being employed in Kenya? Only science teachers. And because I had I knew a little bit of math and chemistry, then I said, I'll do math and chemistry, because my aim was to get a job. And my aim was not to come to Germany. I didn't know I'd ever come to Germany. I just wanted to survive in Kenya. So I started there and I did my math and chemistry there, and I finished. I pursued it. I finished. And after finishing the education, Bachelor of Education in Kenya, you don't get a job immediately. You have to go, you have to work with BOG. I don't know. You have to go to a school and work under a school. So you are just paid. For example, I was only being paid 60 euros that time. So my friend was in Germany and she was doing au pair also. So she told me, you are a teacher here and you're getting less money than the people in Germany, and we are just taking care of the children. So I started, I said, oh, if it is so, then I can also come to Germany. And my friend also told me that that in Germany, studying in Germany is easier. You don't pay fees, you just pay the insurance. And I thought, oh, in Kenya, we pay a lot of fees, and in Germany, you don't pay fees. So I started to pursue to come to Germany. So I came to Germany as au pair medicine. I took care of the child for 1 year. After 1 year, I volunteered for another 1 year. I finished the volunteering part. And then I started I wanted to continue with my studies, because I had studied in Kenya and I didn't want to start afresh. So I thought, how can I do it? How can I continue studying in Germany? I don't want to start afresh because of the age. I was that time almost 27, 26. So I didn't want to start afresh because, the time. So I started to apply for universities. It was not easy. They didn't accept me at first. So I continued to ask why they didn't accept me, and I continued to translate my certificates, what courses I did in Kenya, and everything. What they asked me, I continued to give them. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of money. I applied through UniAssist, because UniAssist, they have to recognize everything that you've done in Africa. If the university is valid, some universities are not recognized, so you can't be allowed to study here. So and everything costs a lot of money, and that time you don't have money, but you just persist, you just work and persist, and at long run, after some time, they accepted me. And they recognized all my certificates from Kenya. So I just continued from my bachelor from Kenya, math and chemistry, and because of math and chemistry, they accepted me also very fast, because they need math and chemistry teachers then. So I continued with math and chemistry in master's, and did my master's education. It was not also easy. I took almost 2.5 or 3 years. Normally it takes 2 years here in Germany to get your master's, but I took then 3 years, because you have to do your research, and and because of the language, it's not easy. We take a lot of time out as foreigners because of the language, but we finished. And then after that, I applied for Referendariat. For me, it was not like Wambui. It was easy to get this Referendariat, is this teacher training. For me, it was very easy. After I finished my bachelor, my master's in the University of Hamburg, I applied only once for the teacher training, then the Referendariat, and I got immediately positive feedback that I was supposed to start. It was not very hard. So I did it for 18 months. Because of the language, it's also not easy, because I failed also once, but you don't give up, you continue. I failed and I continued. They extended my part for 6 months or 4 months in Hamburg. So after that, I finished. And then after you finish the this Referendariat or the teacher training, you are marketable, so you can get a job very, very easily. So I finished the teacher training then, and I got also good results then after finishing, and I applied for the job. And at this time then I was German. I changed my nationality from Kenya to German because of being a teacher, because it is easier when you are a teacher, when you are a German and you are a teacher, you are employed by the government. When you are not German, you are employed, but it's not like the government. It's a little bit with the pension system and like that. So because I was also German, I got it, and yeah, it was for me then the transition from teacher training to the school now to be a full teacher. It was then easier. When you do here the teacher training, so they believe you more. It is not when you do something, when you study, because for example, bachelor in Africa, they don't believe you. But after doing my studies in Germany, the Germans then start believing you. They say, oh, you studied here, so they believe you. And then after finishing everything, I went to school. It was easy to get a job after that. I can say like that. So now I'm a teacher in the school. Yeah. It was
wow. Such impactful stories, because I think this is all what we lacked when we all came here, like to find someone who can hold your hand and tell you, number one, nothing is impossible in this country, and number two, this is the path to follow. Yeah, I lacked that personally, and I think that is what motivated us to start the network and build it such that anyone who comes here will not waste so much time making, let me say, I wouldn't say wrong decisions, because I don't believe there are wrong decisions in life. It's just the way you see things, or you get out of that situation you are in, but making us those decisions that according to our passion. Yeah, if my dream was to become a teacher, like what Wambui said, that you can also become a teacher wherever you are, not because you're black, white. No, we are just doing it because it is a passion, and you also want to bring in that change. Wow, nice. Before we go to the German education system, Susan, we have so many people who study out of the country. Okay, let me talk of Kenya or out of Germany. And then you come into a system here where they say this famous phrase, das ist leider nicht möglich. What should they do? I once had an encounter with someone who trained in Kenya and wasted so many years. And even up to now, his teaching profession is really stagnating because he never managed to get into the system. What should they do?
Did they apply? First of all, you have to apply through UniAssist, and then you apply to the university. The university will tell you what to do. And when you do these things and you go back to them, you should be persistent. You ask, and you should be getting all those documents. That is what I did. I continued. I stayed there. I went to the office where the Anmeldung, they accept the registration office. I stayed there. I took my husband with me. We sat there the whole day because we wanted to know what is missing in this in the whole process. So, and when you do that, and you have everything, and the language, they'll accept you. But the best thing is, what I've recognized, the best thing is to go through their system. You have to go through the education system. You see, I was in Kenya, I did my bachelor there, but they didn't believe me. Then I went to master's after doing my master's here in Germany, so they start believing you. So the best thing is to at least go here in the school. You can't just go, you can't just say you have your master's. For me, I don't think you can just say, I have my master's from Kenya, I want to be a teacher. It is possible, but it is hard for them to accept you.
Yeah. Okay. So the best thing is for them to enroll for master degree courses, and at least after that, then they will be able to join the system. Okay. So let's go to the education system, the structure of the education system. Oh wait, one more question. What German level do we need to teach in these German schools, for example?
Wambui, will you answer? I've talked a lot. Wambui.
You need German. And I think that's why even what Susan is saying, even if you do have a degree, education is a very cultural thing. And this is something I'm learning every day. It's not just what you can teach, but how you can teach it. And if you want to reach those kids, because you will not be teaching only Black kids, even if you're teaching Black kids, but they are growing up in this system. And you need to understand the system, because the system, it doesn't matter how good you are, this system, really, you really need to get inside and to understand it. So, and the German, even the German is also a very cultural thing. It's totally different if you did up to C2 in Kenya, or you did B2 in Germany. It's just something totally different. You need the cultural background of the language. Why do people say things the way they say them? What do they mean when they say them? Because that's how the children will understand you. And you're going to need all this context. You need a lot of context to be able to explain something to a child. And even if you're like me, I teach English and I also work with sign language. It doesn't really have anything to do with the German language as itself, but you still, and even if you're doing sciences or mathematics, you still need this cultural connection to the language. And so going through the education system, going to do your master's again, will actually be really helpful. It's just better to do it than to fight the system, because it will take it will still take a very long time to fight the system that they can accept your degree. And I do think it's legitimate to say you do that again here, because I would be very suspicious, although people do that, of a German who comes from here and goes to Kenya and teaches the kids there without any knowledge of Kenyans. You know, they do that, but it's you can't really reach the children if you cannot speak their language, even on a cultural level. So I would say you need a lot of German to be able to become a teacher. So yeah, I think that's the one thing you're just going to really have to work hard for. I say I used to do my German up to the middle of the night. I used to post all these grammar rules on the toilet door everywhere. I used to read a lot. Without the language, it's not possible. It just isn't possible. You really need the language.
To be enrolled to the university, they'll check if you have, for example, for me, I did student colleague, and it is equivalent like C1. So you have, for them to accept you to the university at first, you have to have a C1 certificate that you are in the the highest level of German then, the C1 level.
Mhm.
And then learning, the way Wambui say, the cultural, this learning, it takes up, you can say today of tomorrow, I'll be very perfect. You continue, even us at the moment, we are still learning. The German, you as a foreigner, you continue learning forever, I can say. We'll just learn forever till we leave the profession and go back home. We just learn German. You'll continue learning German.
There's no shortcut.
If you relax, it will not be, you forget, I think so, as foreigners.
Let me just read out some nice comments before we continue. Mshai said, Susan is a fighter. She never gives up. Mshai is, hi Mshai, all the way in Hamburg, doing an amazing work. And there's a question. We will have a Q&A session towards the end. There are two teachers who have questions, so we'll do the questions later on. Jerry Jetta is very proud of Wambui too. You can see people are celebrating you here. And it's always good to read some nice comments. Yes, there's no shortcut to the language. And I keep telling people, learn the language, you'll understand so many elements in your country, whether you're in Italy, you're in France, wherever you are. And also, secondly, take another degree course to fit into the system. There are so many things. Our education system in Kenya is completely different from German. So if you combine the two, you can also see where do we merge the two and maybe show that positive image of Africa better, because you have gone through the education system, you understand where maybe the gaps are, and you can be able to fill in those gaps better if you understand both systems. So that is my personal suggestion. So Wambui, maybe you can take us through, like, we have Grundschule, sometimes they go for 5 years, 6 years, I don't know. Then we have Realschule. It's a bit confusing, especially for people who come here with small children. Most of them are coming here to do their research, their PhD or short-term contracts. They come with kids here, and then they're like, okay, we don't have these systems back home. Where do we start?
Yeah, the German education system is a bit confusing. Okay, you have Grundschule where everybody goes. So that's good. There is not much to understand there. You also have kindergarten, which is also very important. I understand some parents prefer to keep because kindergarten is not, you don't have to take your kid to the kindergarten. You can decide not to. But even there, it is actually important for kids to go there because especially if you're coming from outside, that's where they will learn the language, and it's better that kids learn the language from the people who know the language than you teach the kids the language when you don't know it, because then they learn the wrong German, and it's much, much harder to unlearn wrong German than to learn the right German from the start. So that's why I also always encourage parents, continue speaking to your children, Kikuyu, Kiswahili, whatever you still speak to them. They need a mother tongue. They need a stable mother tongue for them to be able to learn any other language. That's the most important thing. Then they will go to Grundschule, which goes from class 1 to 4. And there after Grundschule is when now they separate. They either go to Gymnasium or Gesamtschule or Realschule or Hauptschule, or sometimes they can even go to special schools for special education. Mostly you get a suggestion from the class teacher of your Grundschule, and so they tell you where you could take your child to. Sometimes you can have your special educators. This is where we also come in. We do the diagnosis. We check how is your kid. What do they need? Like for me, I specialize in the area of the hearing impaired. So we come and check, are the difficulties that your child is going through, do they have anything to do with the hearing or the seeing or whatever, because children do have diverse problems. When they go to Gymnasium, Gesamtschule, Realschule, Hauptschule, that's where they stay at least the 10th to the 10th class, all of them. And then from there, if your child is in the Gesamtschule or Gymnasium, they continue to the 12th or 13th class, depending on where you are. So yeah, it's a bit complicated, but I always think if you don't know where to take your kid and you're very unsure, Gesamtschule is always a good choice, because in the Gesamtschule, your child has a possibility to do all these kinds of Abschluss. I don't even know the right. They can either finish at the 10th class or at the 13th grade, which will be the gymnasium. Yeah.
Thank you for highlighting
can,
that. So, yes.
Can I add something?
Yes, Susan, yes. Mm-hmm.
You can take your child also to, for example, to Realschule or Hauptschule. And when a child is good, some people are discouraged when their children, for example, are in the Hauptschule. They say, oh, they are very, very, what is doom? They're not clever. They're not clever. But when a child finishes Hauptschule and he or she is good, the child can continue to the Realschule, and when she or he is good, he can continue and or she can continue and do the Abitur. So it will take a little bit time, but it is possible also from Hauptschule to get your Abitur, or from Realschule to get your Abitur. It is possible to change from one school to the other according to how the child is, how hardworking the child is. So people should not be discouraged when their children are are sent to Realschule or Hauptschule. Yeah, the best thing is only to support your child and motivate your child to continue and not give up. Also, you can start small and still end big. Yeah.
Wow. That brings to my next question, Susan, of this notion, as you said, like we are so, sometimes you get traumatized as parents because we have this idea or this mindset that our children must go to gymnasium. If they don't go to the gymnasium, then we start fighting with the teachers, trying to figure out. So which message, advice would you give parents who are watching us right now? Actually, we are talking the right time of the year because kids are going to change in the next couple of months. I think by May is a registration for the children who are going to switch. Yeah, I've also seen children who were sent to Hauptschule, and now one of them is actually doing her PhD. So that's possible, yeah. But what should they do? How should they strike this balance between the teacher, the child, and the parent?
The question is very hard, but I think you should. I know some parents, especially from our culture, will just, the first thing somebody will say, oh, they are unfair to my child, and my child is very clever also. But for me, when I get a child, when the teacher says you can take your child to this and this school, I just accept first, and then I see how my child is performing after that, and then I can go back and you can talk to the teachers, and then they'll advise you. For me, till now, yeah, there are some teachers who are not so they're unfair, but mostly many teachers are fair. Some parents don't want to accept their child. Yeah, I don't know. Teachers see otherwise, and the parents want to see their children as very, very clever, and they are not in the classroom, and it is hard to accept when the teacher tells you, oh, your child needs some time to learn, and so. I think we should just believe them first, and then you can try again. You can try even at home, and see how your child is working, but you should just believe your teachers first. I think so. That is the best.
Oh yes, because if there is no harmony there, then there are some can resort to a lot of conflicts. And that's what I've done personally as a mother of Black children here. I am very, very present in those schools. So right from Krippe, from any kindergarten, they know I am there just to make sure I understand the system. Yeah, the system. I can communicate with the teachers, with anyone who is taking care of my child, not because I'm an African woman, but because I'm in a system I never grew up in. And this is one of the ways for me to understand. If they're a parental meeting, I am very much there. Yeah? I try to also to organize for activities where kids meet up just for me to listen to other German mothers who went to these schools and are able to explain to me. And I think that is what Njeri is saying. It is important for Black parents to understand the different school systems in Germany if we want to support our children who face a lot of racism. And I think that is now the next question for Wambui, like, how do we strike this balance again? And you dealing with children with special needs, sometimes we do not believe what the teacher said, according to what Susan said there. We are like, no, my child does not have problems. No. So what would you tell them, you as a teacher, as a profession in this area, so that at least we can find a helpful solution for the child, especially for the child?
Like I said, education is something very cultural, and sometimes, sometimes kids ask me some questions in mathematics, even in very lower classes, but because they did not grow up in this system, I do not know. It's just a pure lack of knowledge of some things. And as you can imagine, these are the examples that our kids are learning with. So if they are playing certain mathematical games and your kid has never had that, simply because it's cultural and you don't know it and your child doesn't know it, with time, such experiences accumulate and it might appear that your child is not good. And what happens to most kids is they start getting troublesome. I have dealt with several kids. If they don't have the language, if they don't feel like they fit in, if they don't feel like they are accepted, mostly they're the ones causing trouble in the classroom, and that's the truth. But it's very important to look, where is this coming from? Some of them are so intelligent. Like I have a student, he is so intelligent. I tell him one thing and he gets it. He's an Afro-German child, but he just can't sit still. He just doesn't know how to sit still. He's all over the place. And if you're such a child, and I am the teacher with a class of 30 kids, and this one child is always doing something, it doesn't matter how patient you are as a human being. At one point, you will find yourself always talking to the same child, sit down, listen, and then all of a sudden the attention is on this child who is already feeling different. So I think it's very important for us as Black people to realize we are different. And for children who don't know how to regulate their emotions, that is a very stressful situation to be in, when you're always the one who's different. And then the teacher is always calling on your name. So I say, I think being present is the most important thing you can do for your child, because the fighting, I have seen also the fighting where parents come and say, you are racist as a teacher. And maybe it's true, we live in a racist system. It's not far-fetched to assume that there is always racism going on. That's just how racism works. It's in all of us. We internalize so many racist messages growing up. The whole education system is based on racism. There is no way one of us is totally pure of racism. There is white supremacy. There are all these ideologies. When you look at a white person and you look at a Black person, who do you believe is more professional? Just by looking at them. Who do you want to take care of your problems? There are these ideas that we all have, and the teachers are not different. But if now we are not present, and if now we take this route of fighting, but we are not present, we're just fighting, then we sort of encourage this negative energy. And the teacher has your child. The teacher has your child. So every time the teacher is dealing with your child, there will be this negative energy. Not anymore because the child is Black, but now because the mother is troublesome, or the father is causing trouble. And I think if we can try to be more present as parents, because some of us have problems with language, some of us don't understand this system, and also there are intersectionalities. Most of our parents are working 3-4 jobs at the same time. It's just so stressful to be a parent in this racist system. It's very stressful to know your own child is going through racism. You don't want that, so you already have a lot of energy which is negative, and when you come to the teacher and there's this fight feeling, then it doesn't work. But if you can get into a conversation and the teacher knows, okay, the mother or the father of this child are doing this, and they help the child to do their homework, so you sort of remain present One, your child will know you are present, which is very important when your child knows that. To Elternsprechtag, you're there. When it's about homework, it's not your child who never does their homework. If it's sport shoes, it's not your child who never have their sport shoes. If it's going to Ausflüge, it's not your child who's never present. You know, all these things that your child is among the other kids. Then I think we can start balancing and actually now start talking about racism when we have dealt with these other structures that go along, you know, which affect our children, how they learn. Simple things like not having the sport things, which happens a lot, already make your child not be able to go to the Sporthalle. Already that will make your child have a bad grade later, you know, and already that will make the child not be part of this group because your child was not allowed to go inside, you know. So it's very small things that make our children who are already different feel even more different. And if we can work with those things such that all these loose ends are tied, and then we can now start looking at the system and how it's working and how it's affecting our children.
Wow. Thank you, Wambui, for the deep insights. I'm a mother, as I said, and as we were discussing before with the two ladies on the takeaway message, I said personally, I go to these schools not as an African mom, but as a mother. So I don't go there so that they can see me, this Kenyan lady is there, but I go there because I'm a mother, just like any other mother. Secondly, what I also do is I try to attend to all those activities within the school. Yeah. And thirdly is if there are any conflicts between the child, the teacher, or anything, or some misunderstanding, child is slow, I don't know the child, I don't know is doing this, I approach them very calmly, and that has helped me. I give you an example before I go to Susan. There's a lady, the child was very slow, but her grades were very good, but she was always very slow. So the mother noticed this herself and admitted and said, fine, the child is very slow, but what do we do? So they asked the child, what do we do? Do you have any ideas we can apply to help you work faster? And that worked. So involve also the child in the arrangements that you make between you and the teacher, because at the end of the day, it's this child that is going to implement those few things that are missing. Yeah, don't decide so much for the child, but let also the child decide with you. And I've also practiced that and I've seen it work. Like when they don't finish their homework on time, then I'm like, so what do you suggest? What should we do? And you'll be very shocked. They have fantastic ideas. Susan, you're in the field of mathematics sciences where it's an issue for many children. Yeah, like, or we come up from a setup where we all want maybe our children to become engineers, doctors, name them. And then you come in a society where it's not the case, you know, like the children are really separated at a very early age. So what should we do to concentrate on the strengths of a child? Because I believe personally, not everyone should do mathematics. Yeah, we all have different strengths. If you're in arts, you should concentrate on your arts. And I think also parents need to understand this and support the child.
I understand you. I also believe so. You should concentrate in what you are good at. But now for me now, I'm a teacher. For example, I'm in grade 5 to 10. And at the moment, everything counts. Before specialization comes when you are doing then the 11, 12, 13th. Yeah. So you can, I know you can concentrate. You can still concentrate in your arts and or in your languages. You don't have to concentrate in maths, but for your 10th grade, you need math. They'll take what is Durchschnitt? Minsko, the Minsko, and math is also important then. So even if you are not good in math, you should even if your child is not good in math, you should encourage your child to learn a little bit. Math is important because it is the Hauptfach.
The main subject.
The main
Yes,
subject, math. Yeah, you don't have to get A's or B's. You can get a C, but it is one of the main subjects: math, German, and English. So there's no way you will be able to concentrate in your arts. Arts will help you, but it will help you later. But math, it will help you till grade 10. I think math is important. So wow. I know it is hard, but you can do it because with a little bit doing homework. I think the system is also not so, when you just do the homeworks, the way the teacher explained it, when you finish your work at home, you repeat what the teacher said. I think it should be manageable to get a C or a 3 in German then. But you don't have to be perfect in math. I can say like that. Yeah.
You don't have to kill your child.
No, you don't have. Even there are arts. When you do arts, you can also get a good job later. But math is important from at the beginning. Because it counts in the mean grade.
Yeah, I also had an encounter, and the mother used to say, you know, I was not good in mathematics, so my child is not good in mathematics. And I found that wrong, because I think we should also give the children space to rediscover who they are. Some of us grew up with no resources, and that doesn't mean that because you grew up in that environment, it should not be the case. Yeah,
and please talk to the teachers and ask, what did they do in school? How can we help the child, so that a little bit, your child doesn't have to get the E's. You need the 3 or 4, and it will help in the mean grade. That is important for us. And then later in life, the child can concentrate in the arts or the languages. But at the beginning, it is very important. I can just speak like that as a teacher from grade 5 to 10 then.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Think,
yes, please.
Something very short to that. This being involved, like when I teach my students, I always make a photo of what we did and post it online, you know, so there is access. But when I ask them the next day, did you see that I posted that? They don't know. And I think just this involvement, like today I was just correcting work. For you to get grade 5, you have to be really bad. You know, you have to be really, really, really poor. And sometimes I look at kids and I know they shouldn't be getting this grade. They just weren't involved, you know. For me to really write 5 there, it means you've just written your name and you didn't even try, you know. And for me, like now, I'm the way I see, I really try to see how can I help this child to get a better grade. But and if as a parent you are at least a little involved, you know, look at all this. Like we have Padlets, we post things online, you know, we work until late in the night trying to get all the information outside, and it's really small things. And if you can just always at least once per day go through with your child, okay, what was this today, so that they stay on top of that, so that they still have the context of what is being talked about, even if they are not very good, but they have the context, they might still end up getting a better grade, even if they're not the best.
Wow. Thank you for your wonderful input once again. Before we close the discussion, of course, we live in an environment where childcare, or let me say babysitting jobs, or, you know, like balancing between career. Yes, this is a correct word. Balance between career and parenthood is a big challenge. Yeah, we do this big profession. Some of us have these big professions, but when you start getting children, then you're like, okay, so how do I balance the two? And I remember I went for one of the parents' meetings, and they said the teachers, they notice when the parents are not present at home. And as much as we want to chase our careers, do businesses, you know, continue with our dreams, I think we also need to slow down and concentrate on our children, because that statement never left my mind. She said, we notice, even in kindergarten, we notice when parents are not present. So as teachers, because we bring our children to you, how should we balance the two? Susan, and then Wambui, and then we do the closing remark, and then we'll have the Q&A session.
I was absent-minded. I've not the question. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I was absent-minded.
No, I was talking about balancing career and profession, career and family. Yeah, because sometimes I just mentioned to say that I attended our parents' meetings, and one teacher said they notice when the parents are not present, because they're either working for so many hours or they're traveling a lot and they're not there. So how should we strike the balance? Because again, we don't want to look like we studied for nothing, or we did all this Ausbildungen and spent all the money, and our children come here and have to make sure Wambui and Susan, they're happy with the work that are doing. How should we strike the balance?
Oh, it is very hard, because there are some people who have to work to get this money. If you don't work, even your child will not be comfortable. That I understand very much. But the little time you have at home, you should just be present. Not calling people. You should just be present in your child's life. The little time. I understand, because it is very hard to get money to make your child comfortable at school. They want expensive things. You have to work. You have to send back some money home. But the little time you have, you should just be there for your child, and try when the children are big enough, they should go and do also co-curriculum activities, because maybe piano or football, and not only staying at home and watching TV and playing these games. That also make their mind a little bit bland. Yeah, and just try. I can just say, when the little time you have at home, just be present there and check what the children are doing at school. Yeah, because life is hard. We have to work also.
Yeah. There's a German mother who said a very harsh statement, and she said, ich hole alles nach. I'm going to. She said, well, my mother was never there for me. So she said, I don't want my children to go what I went through. So I will catch up. Money will never be enough. Wambui, what is your?
Yeah, it is also like that. It's true. When you say like that, then you should just. I think the children will understand when they come home and mother is there, the food is there. That is very nice. But I can also understand when most of us have to go to work to get money. There are also such families. But I prefer really that when the children come home, you are also there. You welcome the children. You ask them what they did in school. But I can understand a person who say it is not easy for me. I have to work. I'm a single mother, and the father doesn't pay anything. Yeah. Wambui, maybe.
Let me get my charger. Just hold on a minute.
Maybe Wambui has a better idea.
I don't know. Maybe I can just continue until Caro comes. I personally don't have children, so whatever I can say is with a lot of respect and honor for all parents who do this, because I understand that it is not easy. But what I can say, what I've seen working, even for parents who do a lot, is having rituals. It doesn't have to be a long period of time, but it's a ritual. Like every day you do that one thing together. It doesn't matter what happens, but you do. Maybe some people do supper together, that you eat together and you sit and talk, or you go for a walk, or you read a book for your child. By the way, this reading for children is so important. You notice also children who grew up reading books, and it doesn't matter if it's English or German or even Swahili, but that they grew up with the knowledge of books, or maybe a ritual of going to the library every Saturday, because however busy you are, you always have time for your child, right? It just depends on the quality. How are you spending this time with your child? It's like what Susan said. Are you working at the same time? And the COVID situation has just brought everything together. Parents are working, children are home office, so you are there, but you are not really there. And maybe creating a ritual can help both of you, because even also children at some point, they don't care what you want for them. They want to play Fortnite. Like I hear my students telling me every time, I like playing Fortnite. So what are you going to do about it? And even a parent was telling me, I don't know how to get my child to read. But I also always think it's a bit, if you expect your child to do something and you never do it, your child won't do it, or they won't take it serious. If I want my child to read something and my child has never seen me take any book, I don't know, the child won't read it because the child doesn't think that it's important. Or if you don't want your child to be on the phone, but you find yourself on the phone a lot of times, that's what the child will do. So if you can create rituals where maybe for all of you, it's like it's phone free for all of us right now, not just for the child, but all of us don't have our phones right now. And we're going to go for a walk for 1 hour or 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. If you ritualize that and you do it every day, I think it becomes normal for all of you. And then it also becomes easier for you to say no at work. When someone tells you, can I call you at 6? Then you can say, no, 6 is when we eat. And I think like that woman who said, ich hole nach, I don't think you will ever finish working. Like even me, I'm always planning lessons, always. At some point I have to tell myself, stop. Get out, go be with your friends, because I never finish, I also have several classes I'm dealing with. There's always something to do. And if you don't tell yourself, right now, I'm not doing this, you won't. We are living in this Leistungsgesellschaft. There's always something to do. But when you create a ritual and every day at this time, this is what we do, then it gets easier. And your child will thank you for that. And also you, because I believe as a parent, you also need the relationship with your child. It's not just the child who needs you. I believe, I don't have children, but I believe it's a relationship where both of you get something from it. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for both. Let me just read one comment here. What an empowering session. Thank you so much, great ladies. And someone is asking, we'll read the question later on. We still have 2 more minutes, and then we finish. I'm really loving it. Thanks for the very useful information. Maybe one question which might benefit people who are watching us. What is your advice regarding giving tuition to children to aid them in subjects they're not good? Is it advisable to get extra help from somewhere other than the school where the children are being taught?
I'll say I've had such students, and it depends. It depends with the child. You can try it and see how the performance goes, because some children, they're not attentive in class, and they just say, yeah, ich mache heute Abend bei der Nachhilfe. That they'll do it at home, so they don't want to. They are not concentrating in the class because they think, I have somebody to help me at home. So you should just weigh the situation. You can try it, because by some children it helps a lot and they really improve, but some it doesn't help. It's only waste of money. So you can just try and see how your child is, how it is helping your child. And then I think so. You should just
strike the balance. Maybe talk to the teachers, also find out what the child really needs before now.
Exactly.
Okay. Wambui, what is your 2 cents?
My 2 cents on that, also just try, but I'm also always very careful with overstressing children. I come from the side of special ed, and our work is to see what does the child need. Rarely is it more. Actually, from what I've seen up to now, it's rarely more. It's more of this quality time with what they are being taught in school. It's actually enough, because this is what the school curriculum has said needs to be learned, and this is what the teachers are working with. And I've also worked in schools for Schule für psychisch Kranke. I don't know how to translate that, but most kids who go there are kids from gymnasium who are so overstressed with Latein and Nachhilfe and Klavierunterricht and ballet, and I don't know. I always say, always remember that your child works more than you, because you take your child to school first and then you go to work. and then you finish work, you come, and then you pick your child. So your child has been in this work situation for longer than you. And then your child comes home, and then they still have to learn more. And then they still have to do homework. And then such a small person, or even the older they get, needs to do so much, and I think it's rarely the more they do, the better they get. It's this self-concept. How do I associate learning? If learning for me is always stressful, I will not be a good student. If I can develop a positive attitude towards learning, and that's why I encourage reading, because reading is the easiest way to get into learning, because even if you're learning mathematics or German or whatever, you need the language. The language is the one that helps you to understand chemistry, to understand mathematics, to understand all this. A child needs this positive attitude. And if it's just stressful, of course, you might have someone for Nachhilfe who is really empowering for them, and they go out and they build their self-esteem, then that's a good thing. But if you have someone who is just adding stress to the stress the child has already had, it's total waste of money, total waste of energy. Your child will hate it, because every second for this child is just stress. They wake up, they have to run to school, their rucksack is totally heavy, then they come back, then they have to learn. Even as I said, I just realized how stressful that is. And even you as a grown-up, you don't want that. Sometimes you come from work and you don't want to see anyone, you don't want to hear anyone. Now you expect your child to still be totally capable. We need to look at our children also as human beings, and how much capacity do they have? Can they really, is it really helping, or is it just too much stress? More of building up self-esteem and associations. How do I associate education? Education is good for me, I can do it. And the more they realize, oh, I can do this, they make these Erfolgserlebnis. They realize they have success in one thing, then it gets better, because they only learn if it's intrinsic. If it's from outside, even if you get the best, even if you get Angela Merkel to come teach them physics, it won't work, But if it's intrinsic and they realize, oh, I can do this, then it gets easier.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we can close the meeting. Before we close, I have one closing remark. Maybe you can also have a closing remark. When our child was joining school, we met mothers who would say, oh, my child can read. Oh, yeah, mein Kind kann schon lesen. But I was very shocked that when they started learning, when they joined school, most of them could not read. And by December, all children could read. So do not put pressure in your child. And then the teacher also told us, do not be teachers at home. We are the teachers. Let us do the work. We will help. We will tell you where we need our help, where we need your help. And I still remember that. Yeah. So don't put so much pressure. My child should start reading. There's a mechanism they use that this child goes to class in September, and by December they're able to read. I don't know how, but that was really shocking to see. Yeah. So my closing remark is, be present as a mother, as a father, and manage the little time that you get to at least get to know how is your child, get to know about the system here. If you don't understand the language, talk to us. I am ready to take you to a school. I'm ready. I also do help mothers here who would like this support. I go with them to schools. I mediate some talks with the teachers. If you can do that, do that. Reach out to someone who can help you understand the systems. Yeah, but don't just ignore, because the future is in your child. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Maybe closing remark, and then we go to the short Q&A, and then we close. Susan.
What do I say? Closing remark. Yeah.
I think you said it all, but yes, yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here, and I hope I could help someone. And if somebody has a personal question, they can reach me through Facebook. I'm not so active, but when I'll see the question anyway, and then I can still answer it. But I hope I've helped one or two.
Yeah.
I know it is not easy, but but we try. It is
It
also
is
not
possible.
I'm also here at this place. I can say I've succeeded a little bit, but still I can't say it is easy for me. It is not easy. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Susan, for having you. I think even having both of you is a great empowerment session to many. I'll tag in your social media profiles. If you'd like to share your email addresses, let me know, then I can also share so that at least we can help that child out there. Thank you so much. Wambui.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you very much for inviting me and for creating space for this conversation. I do think it's important. What I like saying is your child doesn't have to be beyond average. Average is good enough. Your child doesn't have to be hochbegabt, and not all children have to go to the university. Just really that understanding that it shall be well, and your child will find their own way to navigate the system. And like Susan said, it is hard. And for me, it helps me to understand that it is a hard system. It's not going to be easy for me. So it helps me to just come in with that acceptance. Even if you want to be a teacher, I can say it's not going to be easy. It has been a very long journey for me. But what is always true is that it is possible, because apparently we are all here and we are all still trying to get it. So it is possible. None of it is easy. Even when you want to change your child from Hauptschule to Real, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of talking to people, matching right there and demanding answers. But if you are present and if you're staying behind it, it's going to be possible. And I think for me, the most important thing is empower your child in who they are and let them know that you see them. If they come and say they face racism, let them know that you see that too and that you understand what that means. It doesn't mean you go to school and fight everybody, but let the child know that you can see the child in who they are, and it's going to work somehow. We all grow and we all find our way, and your child will find a way too.
Wow. I think we can do this. We can redo this every now and then. Thank you so much. I can see Edith has joined us, and Edith is the co-founder of GANF. I had introduced earlier on. She's also a lawyer, a partner, a sister, a mother. Maybe she has a word or two before we close the meeting. Edith, are you able to talk?
Just a second. Just give me a second.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, let me read the comments before she comes. Oh yeah, there's a lot of some questions, but I just want to say people are very happy with the discussion. I think we need to redo it again. Yes, Edith, now you're able to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I hope you're used to me multitasking every now and then.
No problem.
So I was like switching from one meeting to the other, one store to the other. So, but then I've been following up. I appreciate you, Susan and Wambui, so much for the wonderful information. I mean, it's quite unique hearing this from our very own, and then having also our own experience and what we bring along with us. At the back of your mind, the challenges that we experience and the uniqueness of our kids and our goals that, we are always, somebody say they are license oriented. Really, that is the Germany we are in, but that is also we parents, we bring a lot of expectation with us, and we want to pour this expectation on our kids and want to see them succeed, but sometimes we can really overwork them. I wasn't so aware of that. I'll be more cautious about that. And the other take I had from the meeting that is very important is being a role model. I know it's something I hardly make it. If you don't want your kid to be engaged with all these digital stuff, refrain from them too, and make your own exit strategies and cut-off points and say, okay, today it's a day out with my family. I'm not going to engage myself in one meeting or the other. So being these role models, I think it will also help us so much to, help our kids get into this routine and into this German system. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing the wonderful experiences with us. As Carol had said initially, the director and the co-founder of Giving Africa a New Face that tries to voice out the voices of the diaspora to the government authorities or institutions and create a platform where we can come to a dialogue with each other. So I know we are still going to have a lot of meetings together. Carol is always the mother of all the networks. So I appreciate you so much, Caroline. You're doing an amazing job bringing all these expertise together. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you from my side. And let me stop recording. Wambui, you have